Welcome back, Focus Learners. Today we've got a brand new explainer for you, and we're looking at Claude Code version 2.1.202. Now, if you're using AI for development, you know the real magic is in the workflow, right? But yeah, sometimes that magic feels totally unruly. So, this update, it's fundamentally a maintenance and capability release. We're not talking about a massive foundational shift or some shiny new model here. Instead, think of it as a highly critical update that's laser-focused on just removing friction from your complex agentic workflows. It's all about giving you back the reins.
Okay, let's dive into this, because that right there is literally the golden question for any developer working with multi-agent systems today. How exactly do you tame a complex agentic workflow? You know how it is. You ask an AI to solve a multifaceted problem, it breaks it down, and boom, it gets to work. But without the right guardrails, it can feel a bit like a runaway train. So throughout this explainer, we're going to see exactly how Anthropic is answering that question, really leaning into the themes of control and clarity.
Which brings us to Section 1, the big picture, taking back control. Ultimately, this is all about predictable behavior and just giving you that peace of mind.
Let's jump right into Section 2, sizing your dynamic workflows, commanding your crew. Up until now, you really didn't have much say in how many agents Claude spun up during those dynamic tasks.
See, when you're deploying AI to write code or debug environments, you absolutely cannot afford wild unpredictability. Previously, when Claude built a dynamic workflow, it was essentially a black box. You had zero say in the agent count. So to fix this, Anthropic introduced a new setting that operates as an advisory guideline. Now, the crucial nuance here is that this isn't an immovable hard-coded cap that's going to snap and break your workflow if it just needs one more agent to finish the job. Instead, it's a really strong signal. The model respects the constraint, but it still retains the ability to adapt if the task suddenly demands it.
And this brilliantly illustrates the concept. Think of it like telling a contractor whether you want a lean crew or a full team. They're going to listen to your budget and your preferences for sure, but they'll also use their professional judgment if the structural integrity of the job demands a slight adjustment. It really gives you the best of both worlds, strict guidance without those brittle, hard-failing caps.
Practically speaking, you'll see this as a new setting in your /config called Dynamic Workflow Size. You've got three super straightforward options: small, medium, and large. This is an absolute game changer for users who are cost-conscious and really need to keep their API spend in check. It's also a lifesaver if you're running on constrained infrastructure. Or honestly, if you just want more predictable workflow limits, you finally have the dials to control the machine.
Okay, moving right along to Section 3, Tracking Agents, OpenTelemetry Workflow Attributes. This is where we shift from control over to clarity.
Because control is awesome, but you've got to see what's happening under the hood, right? If your team uses observability tooling, we're talking Datadog, Honeycomb, really any OpenTelemetry backend, you are going to love this. Every single time a workflow spawns an agent now, that agent emits two brand new attributes, workflow.run_ID and workflow.name. It essentially leaves a vital breadcrumb trail right through your observability stack.
So what does this all mean? Well, it means you can completely reconstruct the exact sequence of events. You can take your raw telemetry and see exactly which agents fired, in what precise order, and under which specific workflow they were operating. This is a massive leap forward for auditability. Instead of just staring at a spike in your API usage and wondering, what was Claude doing? You can now unpack the entire complex run, step by step, right in your own dashboards.
Next up is Section 4, Code Reviews, Quick Checks versus Deep Dives. Here we're clarifying a brand new mental model for code review commands.
AI is fantastic at reviewing code, obviously. But sometimes you just need a quick sanity check, right? Other times you want a rigorous, architectural deep dive. Now, what's really interesting about this contrast is the distinct intent behind the commands. The /review command followed by the PR is explicitly for a fast, single-pass review. It's your quick check. But if you want that heavy-hitting, multi-agent, higher-effort review, you use the new command, /code-review, followed by the effort level and the PR number. Two completely different commands for two completely different intents.
And finally, we arrive at Section 5, Quality of Life Fixes, the Bug Fix Sweep. Let's pick up the pace a bit here and sweep away some friction. Because hey, features are great, but sometimes it's those little paper cuts that completely ruin your day. Well, over a dozen frustrating bugs were completely squashed in this single release. Literally, 12+ fixes.
Let's rapid fire through the most impactful ones. First up, major UI and access fixes. If you use remote control, files and images sent without a caption used to just silently drop into the void. Well, that's fixed. They actually go through now. Interactive session commands failing with an unknown command error? Fixed. How about session naming? When you use /rename on background sessions, it used to lose the name on restart. Not anymore. It finally sticks. And a huge win for terminal users, SSH login URLs. The sign-in link from the off command now emits as one single unbroken hyperlink. It is reliably clickable, totally bypassing those annoying line wrap breaks.
Next, major performance and system fixes. If you've got repos with tons of Git work trees, resuming a session used to take minutes and just eat all your memory. That memory drain, completely resolved. For voice dictation, repeated microphone failures used to trigger this endless retry loop. Now, they sensibly just pause the input. In workflow parsing, Unicode quote escapes for getting corrupted, which was a headache. And even better, parse errors now show you the exact offending line instead of just always blaming TypeScript. Finally, installer resilience. Downloads aborted by a proxy drop will now automatically retry instead of just failing instantly.
Whew, okay. That is a lot of friction swept away in one go. If you want to dive deeper into the full manual, or maybe see how all these new telemetry attributes and configuration sizes fit into your specific toolkit, definitely check out claudemaster.net. And as always, the official changelog source for everything we covered in this explainer is the Anthropic Claude code repository on GitHub.
So, we've covered the advisory guidelines for dynamic workflows, the massive boost to auditability with OpenTelemetry, those clear mental models for code reviews, and a whole sweep of squashed bugs. It really all comes back to control and clarity. Which leaves me with one final thought for you to chew on. With these new guardrails firmly in place and total visibility through telemetry attributes, what complex workflow will you confidently automate next? Get out there, spin up your appropriately sized agents, and find out. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.